All right, here's a big question that will make your head spin. What would it take to create a planet without war or poverty? Now, the biggest challenges the world has in front of it right now are education, economic growth, and global security. And just understanding these core concepts by themselves can be overwhelming and absolutely mind-numbing. But to make progress on a global level, you need relationships with thought leaders, business owners, policymakers, and educators that cross political, religious, and cultural boundaries. Now, in 2010, I was introduced to a very unique group with a big dream to build a network of leaders tackling the greatest generational challenges of our time, and that organization is GenNext. With me today is the founder and CEO, Michael Davidson. How you doing?
Hi, thank you.
Good, good. Yeah. So for anyone who's never heard of GenNext before, what is GenNext and what are you guys doing?
GenNext is a network of leaders that are really focused on the leadership and the ideas that are going to drive progress to shape future generations.
Okay, so in terms of like, what does that mean to me right now? Like, what does that look like?
Yeah, wow.
What are some of the members who are making a difference? And you can feel free to name drop a little bit if you'd like.
Okay, I don't want to leave anybody out, but so we have fantastic individuals.
Well, now you lost everyone.
Yeah, so one of the best. And we also, Ken Melman, who's at KKR, Jared Cohen, who's the president of Jigsaw.
Formerly from Google, worked with Eric Schmidt.
Yes, co-authored a book with Eric Schmidt. He's still a senior advisor with Eric Schmidt. Juan Zarate, who's at CBS News, the CEO of Sotheby's, Joe Marchese, who's out at Truex, and it's just a vibrant. Alex Pathal, Paul Akrician. Alex is the CEO of Virage Manufacturing and one of the owners of the Sacramento Kings. So there's a lot of amazing people.
Got some big brains.
Yes, a lot of big brains. So I'm thinking of even more and more and more. They're all awesome.
Yes,
so,
yeah, I know. Now that we've set this up, people are going like, what about me? Yeah. So maybe again to put this in context, like what does GenNext do? Like what's the outcome? So there's a meeting that takes place. You've also got delegations that take place where you take groups. I know groups are going to Moscow, Germany, Rwanda, China, Saudi Arabia. Can you maybe describe one of the stories or one of the adventures that you've gone on and something big that happened?
Wow. Well, our trip to, the most recent trip was to Rwanda. So one of our members was he's a Pierre Richard Prosper, who was the U.S. ambassador for war crimes and genocide. He prosecuted the Rwanda genocide case and got a conviction that made rape a form of genocide because 22 years ago, there was 1 million people died in 100 days. And there was systematic rape of women, which rape has been an act of war since the beginning of time. But it has never been prosecuted as an act of war. So this was the first time that's happened. And this is a country that's on the rise. They're one of the most stable, fastest growing economies in the world.
After just 22 years.
After 20 years.
It's craziness.
Yeah. And I think in this century, unfortunately, we're going to see a lot of failed, destabilized states. And
especially in Africa, right?
The real question is going to be, how do you turn these things around? So we wanted to see, how do you turn these things around? And what does transcendent leadership look like? So we went there. The president of the country invited us, and President Kagame. So his defense minister arranged for us to go get a tour of the Congo, which some of the former genocidaries, the bad guys, are off in the Congo. That's a very risky border for them. So they took us up in military helicopters to check it out. And then we got to take military helicopters back to go meet with the president himself, which was just an incredible experience sitting across from him. And then towards the end of the trip, the women who were the key witnesses in the case, this historic case, put together, I think about 50 other women who were victims of the genocide, and that means victims of some of the most violent rapes you can imagine, and put together an event for us and told us about their lives and what they're up to, and how this conviction helped, this sense of justice gave them back some of their dignity, right. and all the good they're doing in the world, and we got to dance with them, and the joy that was in their eyes, knowing what they've experienced. I'll just never forget it, nor will I ever have a bad day again. That was the recent trip, but really what we try to do with our members is expose them to big ideas about what's going on in the world. And so some of that's trips, some of that's small and intimate events, some of those leadership forums. And then though we have infrastructure, and I like to call it a machine that actually goes and has an impact either in politics and policy or in venture philanthropy on these issues.
It's big stuff, and maybe again, just to kind of decode some of what is happening that's interesting is, first of all, massive exposure to big ideas, and also, like in the Rwanda case, being able to bring entrepreneurs, policy leaders, policymakers, people who don't normally know how to participate in our political system can see how they can actually have impact. And I think that's getting this like-minded group together. So I know one of the things that we did is you've had a great opportunity to meet. You had have a good story about how you had an opportunity to speak at the White House in front of the president as well. So why don't, before you tell that story, you had another interview earlier, I believe, with a very, very important individual, and why don't we just show that video right now, just to put this in perspective, then we'll come back and talk about the president. Is that all right?
Yeah, yes.
All right, well,
this one was nerve-wracking.
Let's cut to that video right now and show that.
And best energy, cost-effective energy sources, and healthcare.
Mary Ellen has a question.
Really?
Michael, what's your favorite ride at Disneyland?
Big Thunder Mountain.
That's Grace's favorite ride. What are you doing to create job growth?
Wow, it's a big question. Just trying to get out of the entrepreneur's way.
Capri Sun or Kool-Aid?
Capri Sun. But I like the Kool-Aid man more. So, I don't know where that puts me. Yeah.
What is your organization structure?
Oh, can I sketch it out for you? Yeah? Okay. So the way we structure ourselves is, first, you focus on having a lot of really amazing leaders. Arrows, ticket them down, win. Cheers.
Thank you for joining us.
Thank you for having me.
All right, Michael, very nice. Those dolls looked like they were very contented and enjoying themselves.
They're rested. They were rested.
Very nice.
Yeah, I haven't been that nervous since the White House.
So
that's a big interview.
All right, yeah, pretty heavy duty. A lot of issues covered there. Congratulations. It sounds like the world is going to be a much safer and more stable place as a result. So, speaking of that, let's talk a little bit about the president. The opportunity you had there.
So President Obama convened the first ever summit on countering violent extremism. So there were a lot of everything from community leaders to thought leaders to obviously top executive branch officials throughout the day to showcase what's being done to counter extremism. And we were fortunate, Jared Cohen, Jared Cohen was one of our speakers and helped put together a panel, and Sasha Havlicek, who's from London, who manages a project that we do on counter-radicalization. So us three were featured as a venture philanthropy showcase on how you could really make a dent in radicalization. But as we were going on to each give our respective remarks, I was told as I'm walking on stage, hey, the president's running early and we're running late, cut your remarks in half. And that morning, to make it even better, I was already a little bit of anxiety. That morning I had cut myself shaving, so I had this blemish, and my father-in-law told me he'll get me some Proactive next time I have to give a speech. But I cut myself shaving, so my nerves were a little on. I get up there, I go, it was one of the last speeches, so there's just cameras everywhere, and I'm just thinking about how my blemish is probably shining, and I'm thinking about how do I cut my speech down in half, and it was nerve-wracking, but it was just a tremendous honor to be part of a national conversation about one of the biggest generational challenges that we're having. And I don't think I've been, that interview that you just showed was probably the most nervous that I've been since then.
Nice. Well, I've got one little tip if it ever happens again. My dad's a barber. he always has super glue with him. So whenever you have a little cut or something like that, you can actually super glue it. That'll get you past
Done.
that.
It might be painful.
It's not. It's not at all. It's actually a non-toxic substance. So it's just a little Bernie the Barber tip.
Okay.
We barely had a chance to really scratch the surface here of GenNext, but one of the things that I will say is we've got an extended interview that we did before this one. So what you can do is head on over to mrbz.com/podcast. You can download the video podcast, the extended one. Also check it out on social media as well. But maybe just do a little commercial for GenNext in terms of like who you're looking for as potential members who can participate in this. Get active business-wise. Really see the world stage from a new perspective and participate on a level like you are doing right now.
I think. An accomplished entrepreneur, business leader who feels a very strong sense of purpose and who likes to have a good time. So we want people who have a sense of humor, who add to the conversation not just in substance but in sort of joy. Anne has a lot of talent to put their mind and resources around some very difficult challenges.
Right. And then one more. I've got one other question for you, which is, what's next? Like, what's the next big thing that you've got, next big trip or opportunity that's showing up that'll date this video a little bit, but I think it might put it in perspective for something that's...
So we're doing a trip around Arctic security here pretty soon in the end of June. We have a program, an evening coming up with Eric Dickerson to talk about...
Who's Eric Dickerson?
An NFL Hall of Famer. Who's talking about the crisis of fatherless children in the United States and his work on that, which is going to be fantastic. And then we are scaling up our de-radicalization work, and so we're working on a project with Jigsaw, which is formerly Google Ideas, to interview ISIS defectors and help use their stories to show the world and anybody who's at risk of being seduced by them of what that actually looks like, and to start interrupting their own recruitment process and narrow the tide of recruits.
So just as you were saying that, I just had a little intuitive hit, which is really you're building human systems. You think about what you've been doing in Rwanda, for example, observing how a country has gone from the darkest of dark and in 22 years really becoming a pinnacle of success in Africa on a lot of levels anyway. It's still got its issues, and then you look at what's going on with radicalization, paying attention to how people behave. It's human systems engineering. It's really a big concept or idea. I mean, that's just a tiny fragment, but it's absolutely powerful. So where do they go to learn a little bit more and
just
get inside the system? Go
to GenNext.com, GenNext.com.
All right, fantastic. So thanks for being here.
Thank you.
This is awesome again. And make sure you check out the extended interview again. Go grab the podcast and check out GenNext and get involved. This is definitely a group that you want to participate in or do something with.